Canvas, I updated the assignment. So the assignment is under Project 2.2, and it's this very first one, Community Space Schematic Design. So if you click on here, so none of this has changed. Like the program is still the same, the project is still the same. I've changed the deliverables though. So originally I was thinking we would get to doing furniture and lighting, and I think that we just need to like focus on finishes for the next week rather than trying to like do too many things at once and get overloaded. So you're still responsible for a set of floor plans and RCPs. So that means if you're working on just one level, you'll have one floor plan and one RCP. If you are working on 2 levels, you'll have 2 floor plans and 2 RCPs. One 3D view with finishes produced in Revit. We're going to learn how to do this today. And then one 24 by 36 finish board with physical samples mounted to foam core or gator board. It's okay if it's 20 by 30, if that's the standard size that's available here. It should just be about that size, and I want to have the actual samples. So we are here. So today we're having a lecture on finish it. This is mostly review for you guys. I know you already are really good at doing this. We're just going to talk a little bit about things to think about. We're then going to go over how to do the 3D views and adding materials in Revit while we're still in the computer lab. And then we're going to take a quick field trip down to the material library, and then you'll have the rest of the time to work. On Monday, I want to see those finish boards. So if you don't have every single material like in your hands yet, at least have it digitally so I can see what it is and put it together. And then on Friday, I'm looking to see a rough draft of your presentation. So you'll have your 3D view with the finishes done, and your layouts for your plans, that you kind of have your whole presentation ready to go. And then on Monday, we're having our pinup with Ami Chavez, who is an interior designer at ASG now. She used to be at Design Collective, but she'll be with us on that Monday. And then we'll be on break. So that's kind of the week look ahead. So today's kind of the last day that we're learning new things. And then next week is just like cranking out the project. Okay. So I posted some resources for you guys. So under Project 2.2, under Material Resources, this is Material Bank. We already talked about that when I first introduced the project. So that's someplace you can go look and find samples. This list of manufacturers is something that, how do I get rid of this? Let me close that. Okay. So it's something that my firm, everybody kind of has their own list, and then we kind of add it to lists sporadically. And like, it's not comprehensive. It's not super organized, but it basically has some typical manufacturers or dealers we go to. So difference between a manufacturer and a dealer. A manufacturer is somebody like Hayworth. Hayworth produces office furniture, and they actually have factories, and they design it and make it. A dealer is somebody like Price Modern, and it's like a car dealership, right? Like they might show Hayworth stuff, but they might also show a couple of other manufacturers' things. They are very valuable though, because they give you information. So they are the experts in that product, and they'll know all this extra stuff about it that like, it's hard. You can't be an expert in everything, right? So like, those are the people who are like, they know everything there is to know about that certain kind of tile and what kind of grout you should use based on these weather conditions. And they're like really good resources. So there's both of those people on this list. There's also some local artisans and craftsmen. So those are people who we often in the office use to make stuff for us custom. So rather than getting just like, for example, if we're doing counters or something, rather than buy a pre-made furniture piece, we would go to one of these people and have them build it. So it's divided by division. Have you guys learned about Master Spec yet? Master Spec. Okay, so Master Spec, let me bring up the table of contents. It's a very fun thing. So Master Spec is it's this like list of everything that goes into a building organized, and it's by division. So first one is Division 00, procurement and contracting requirements. So that includes like all of the it's like all the procedures that the contractor needs to follow, and I never use that one. General requirements is kind of the same thing. Once you get down into concrete, it starts going by material. So there's concrete division 3, division 4 is masonry, division 5 is metals, division 6 is wood, division 7 is thermal and moisture protection, so like roofing, waterproofing. Division 8 is opening, so it's like doors, windows, glass, and basically anytime you specify a product, you'll have a number in front of it, and it'll be like 08 blah blah blah, and there's like a whole write-up about the product under that specification. So for example, let's see, so 083313 is coiling counter doors. So I might have written in my specification the number, coiling counter doors, and then under that, I'll list a whole bunch of requirements that Master Spec has kind of standardized, because like I don't know a lot about coiling doors, right? But like they kind of have a boilerplate, like these are things that should probably be in there. And then depending on the project, some projects are basis of design, which means that I tell them a product and then the contractor could suggest a different one if it meets the same requirements. So like I want this VT Industries door. The contractor got a better deal on 5 Lakes, but it looks like it's like the same color wood. It looks like it's the same durability. It should be okay. So like as long as they meet all that list of requirements, they can propose it, and then it's my job to figure out if it's the same or not. So that's what Master Spec is. I spent one summer internship reorganizing somebody's material library according to Master Spec, and it literally took all summer. It was the worst. But it's really helpful because it keeps things organized. It's like instead of alphabetical order, you have this as your order. So this is all organized by Master Spec. So for concrete, Lukeworks is a local manufacturer that makes concrete countertops. Brick, this is like a general brick that people use for custom metalwork. These are both local fabricators. These are all local woodworkers. For solid surface, these are places that you can go to look at types of solid surface or types of quartz, types of acoustic panels. And so most of them should have websites in there, hopefully. And then I tried to note on here if they're commercial or residential. It's not a complete list because it's kind of been like people just add stuff, you know, but it's somewhat organized. So there's like for tile resources, flooring, carpet, LVT, wall covering, plastic laminate, acoustic ceiling panels, appliances, fireplaces, lots of different furniture places. So there's like a couple of big furniture vendors, and then our studio still uses a lot of just like regular residential furniture, even in commercial projects, if it looks like it's not going to be heavily used. So if there's like a lounge for an office, but it's like, I don't know, a 20-person office, and like how often are they really sitting in there? The residential quality is probably good enough. If it's like a waiting room for the post office, you need commercial furniture. So commercial furniture just is a little bit more durable, is built to a higher specification so that it lasts more of the rough and tumble. Working in a public school, you need commercial furniture. Like just think about like what the demands of the thing you're designing are. For this project, I think in a lot of spaces you probably can do some residential, right? Like maybe in the office space, like that might be less frequented. But for the high schoolers, like that should be commercial furniture, probably like their classrooms, because they can be pretty hard on things. And then lighting, just a whole bunch of different places for lighting. Same thing with some of these are manufacturers, some are dealers. So Circle Lighting is an example of a dealer, whereas Rich Brilliant Willing is an example of a manufacturer where they have like just their light fixtures that they produce themselves. These guys represent a whole bunch of different light fixtures. Okay, so that is there under modules for you. Do you guys have questions about that list or about master spec? Okay. Come on, computer, you can do it. Yeah. All right, so we are working on finished boards. These are some kind of fun ones from Chalk Carpet. They do all theirs based on like travels, which like sounds like a pretty sweet job. So they go traveling, take pictures, and then based on it, try to come up with some kind of palette that describes that place they just were. So these kind of go back to being to your high school art classes. If you can go back in time, try to think about it. There's when you're working on a finished board, so much of it is about thinking like a painter, thinking about the elements of art in terms of line, shape, form, space, color, texture, and value. So those are just the first kind of like baseline things we're thinking about. Then also the principles of design. So on top of thinking about not just shape or form or color or texture, but then also thinking about contrast, balance, proportion, hierarchy, where is your emphasis, pattern or rhythm, movement and unity. So what's keeping things together, what's pulling things apart. And then on top of like those kind of basic things from art class, we also have to think about the functionality of the materials we specify. So in terms of acoustics, are things absorptive or reflective? Are they going to help deaden sound in a room, or are they going to create resonance with the room by sound bouncing off of them? Durability, how cleanable is something? How many double rubs does it have, for example, for fabric? Sometimes there's fabric I really love, and like I look at the double rubs, and it's just not going to work. So then safety, slip coefficient, and visibility. So there might be a really beautiful tile, but if it doesn't come with a high enough slip coefficient for outside of a shower or outside of a pool, you probably can't use it there. Visibility also, if you use some really crazy patterns on stairs, for example, some people might have trouble seeing the stair treads. So these are all things we kind of have to think about on top of everything else. And then finally, how green something is. So thinking about being environmentally responsible, making sure the materials you use are not on the Living Building Challenge red list, which is basically a list of materials that are putting really bad chemicals into the environment, or really heavy in plastics, are for companies that manufacturers that are like not having responsible hiring practices. They kind of like lump all those people into a red list. So if that material's on the red list, you probably don't want to use it. Thinking about cradle to cradle. So is the company recycling? Are they thinking about in 10 years when this flooring product gets ripped out, what happens to it? Can they reuse it? Can they recycle it in some way? And thinking about LEED. So it's a lot to consider. Yeah, it's a lot to consider. So the good news about finished boards is like sometimes it's easier to start with someone else's and then substitute in a couple things rather than starting from scratch. A lot of carpet companies have ones that are ready made that you can kind of look at for inspiration. So this one's Shaw Contract. And if you go down, they'll have theirs all organized according to like cool neutral, warm neutral, black and white, whether it's a specific color, blue, green, orange, yellow. Vibrant quick ship means that everything will be here in like 4 weeks. There aren't any long lead times in there. So if you have a client, so for example, I had a client last fall that basically was like, oh, we want something really fun and colorful. And then every time we showed them something, they were like, well, actually, I think we just kind of want to be gray, or like, maybe just the accents could just be blue. So they kind of exhausted us because we spent all this time making all these different colors for them. At the end of the day, like we wound up showing them this website and being like, okay, do you just want something really like bland, like something like this, like what, you know, and it kind of like a starting place that then we could work backwards and try to understand better what they meant. Because I think people don't always know like what they like. So sometimes it's helpful to have a whole bunch of things to throw in front of them and then kind of work backwards and be like, okay, so they like some of the colors within here, but maybe we'd prefer to have a different kind of carpet, or maybe we'd prefer to have a different kind of flooring product. We have this other window system that's going to really clash with this this particular flooring, so we're going to swap this out. But it's helpful to have a place to start. And then this is the top carpet that I showed a bunch of. Oops. Uh-oh. Oh, I don't know if I don't think I made that clickable. So these are some examples from them that might be helpful for inspiration. And I'm sure like if you guys are on Instagram, you probably follow all the people that you really like already that come up with things. But it can be easy to get stuck in a rut. So it's helpful to see what other people are working on and what ideas they have. I did want to go over, just review this quickly. So color wheel is pretty vital when you're picking colors. And there's different kinds of schemes you can have depending on how colors relate to each other. So analogous colors are like three right next to each other. So you do blue, green, yellow, or yellow, orange, red. Complementary is high contrast, and you're going straight across. So if you were to do yellow, straight across is violet, blue, green, straight across is red, orange. So that's going to create pop for you. Split complementary means that you have one at the top. So you're kind of creating like a tall triangle, and then these two colors on the side. So this is like a red, violet, green, yellow, or if it were like a yellow, green, orange, violet. So that has a little bit less pop. It's sometimes a little bit easier for people. The tetrad is kind of the like short and squat rectangle there. And it has like basically two warm colors and two cool colors, but those are high contrast to each other. So these two are analogous, but they're being used together. And then finally tetrad, which is your pure square. And that one I think is pretty challenging to use because you're using like colors that are as far apart as you can in some ways. So sometimes tying them together is challenging, but those can also be really beautiful. So for here, they have like violet, red, orange, yellow, blue, green. And also I just wanted to do this. I don't know. This is something that I bring up because often it's not taught 100% correctly in high school. So often in high school, they will tell you that your warm colors are red, yellow, and orange, and your cool colors are purple, green, and blue. But really, every color can be either cool or warm. It just depends what undertones it has in it. So for example, this is a warm red, this is a cool red. So they're both reds, but this one has kind of those bluish undertones in it, whereas this one has the warmish undertones in it. For yellow, going more with an ochre is considered warmer. Something that's more towards a green is cooler. Green also, there can be like a warm green, a cool green. There can be a warm blue and a cool blue. This being more like your Eve Klein blue, this being more like a steely blue. So it's important to remember that because sometimes you'll think that you're using things that are all cool colors, but so sometimes you might have like a warm color scheme and you're scared to bring in a cool color, but really you can bring in a blue and it can be a warm blue and it can work really well. You don't have to use red to bring warmth into a room, right? There's warmer versions of these colors. It's also, if thinking about painting, if you think about like when people make shadows in painting, rather than just using a shade. So shade is adding black to a color to create shadow. You can use the cooler version of that. So if I have a red shirt on, I might use like a purple violet color to do the shadows of that shirt, and that helps it look a little bit more realistic than just using a shade of red. What's a tone?
Tone is adding gray.
Yep. Okay, so what kind of color scheme do you think this is, if you had to categorize it? So what are the main colors you see in there?
Blue, yellow, there's a little bit of red.
So I heard blue and yellow, right? Okay, so then let's think about the color wheel.
Like the other ones.
So let's see. Red, blue, yellow, purple. I need different colors. Green. Okay, so you think there is blue, yellow, orange?
Yeah, so they added like the tertiary color into the yellow orange color that you can
Okay, cool.
see. And the blue red.
So I'd still say this is pretty, I think it's still pretty contrasty. So I would call this a complementary color scheme. So I think like the blue and the orange are still kind of dominating in it. Although there are some other hints of colors, you're right. Okay, how about this one? Let's go back up to our color wheel. And here, let me write out the names. Okay. Yep. Because we have yellow,
The reddish side is pink.
a reddish, and like those green. Yeah. Very nice. That's triadic. Okay. This one. This one's a little bit of a trick question. I forgot. I didn't put this on the list. Monochromatic. Yep. All greens. So what colors do you see?
Yellow.
Green, yellow, blue. Okay, so what would that be? We're taking all things from one side of the color wheel together.
Yes.
So that's called analogous, yeah. Okay. So that is just a brief review. Do you guys have questions? Okay. Like erasers are not something we have. All right. So rather than go down to the material library now, I would like to go over the Revit piece first. So go ahead and get Revit open. Okay, let me know when you are ready. You guys open yet? I'm just thinking. Do you have it open?
Yes.
It's open. It's open. Okay. So actually, before I show you how to do a 3D view, I realized we never went over how to put our plans onto sheets. So let's go over that so you're ready. So right now we've been working at full scale, right? Like everything, when you draw something that's a foot, it's a foot. But when you print, you want things to be out of scale. So like 1/4 inch equals a foot. So in order to test like what scale makes sense, we need to make a sheet and put our view onto a sheet to see that. So the sheets all live under view. So I go over to view. I can make a new sheet by clicking on this button up here. And then it should have, does everybody have E1 30 by 42 horizontal in there? Is that one already in there? Okay, great. So you're going to hit OK. So this is my piece of paper. This piece of paper is a family, and I can make it look nicer if I want to. So when I click on the piece of paper, I can go to Edit Family. And then I could like take off the Autodesk thing. I could put in a graphic of my own firm. So let's say I wanted to get like Morgan State logo. Which one do we like? Do we like just the bear swiping? Do we like the which one? The person. Where's our person?
No, this one.
The first one. Sorry, with the mouse, I still like. I know it's been 2 years, and I still can't hear everybody perfectly. So save as. Okay, so you have to do a save as. So I'm just going to save it to the desktop. Save. All right. So then I can come over here and go to Insert, Import Image. And then open that up. Okay, so now I have my logo in here. I could change this to my website. And here you can put in consultants, or you could put in the project address. And then these things, the project name, sheet name, these are called labels. So those are smart, and you don't need to change them in here. Like this stuff, like isn't very smart. So you have to like type it in. But this other stuff, I'll show you where you change that. And then this is the project number, date, drawn by, checked by. You probably don't need most of that. It would probably be nice to have the date, and you can put your name and drawn by. You don't need checked by, so get rid of that. Okay, so once you're happy with this, you click on load into project and close. And don't save the changes. Just leave it like that. Okay, so you're going to overwrite the existing version's parameter values, and then they'll look like this. So over here, if I type it in now that I'm in the project, so owner, Morgan State, project name would be community space or whatever you want to call your project. And then this is so this would be my floor plans. And then A101, usually you start your plans at A101, so it's all good. Okay, so what's cool is now that I type that in, if I make another new sheet, wait, hang on, view, new sheet, and use the same one, it'll automatically have that information in there that's the same. Over here where it says unnamed, that would be like RCPs, right? Like that would be my next kind of, it describes whatever's on there. Okay, so if I go back over to here, it's really easy to add views. I just come over to my project browser, I find the view I want to add, and I drag it over. So I'm going to put my plaza level, I'm just going to drag it over and plop it on here. So it looks like right now, it's a little bit too big, but I could rotate it and it would fit. So to rotate it, I would come over here to rotation on sheet and change it to 90 degrees clockwise. And now it all fits on there pretty well. I do want to crop my view though. So if I double click on here, so when I double click, I'm inside my project. It's like AutoCAD, like when you're inside the view versus on the sheet, same deal. So right now I'm in my project. If I double click outside, I'm on the sheet. So I'm going to double click so I'm inside my project. Come down here to where it says show crop region. And then this square appears. I click on the outside and these bubbles appear. I'm going to drag those in so that it all fits nice and snugly on my sheet. And then I can hide that and then deactivate my view. So this fits pretty well. If it didn't fit well, I could change the scale. So if I select it, I can come over here to view scale and I could make it smaller. So I could do like 1/16. So let's say I wanted to put like 2 on one sheet. I wanted both my floor plans on here. I could do that. If I wanted it bigger and just to focus on one room, I could change my view scale to 1/4. And then I would just need to crop this in more, right? Like maybe I'm just going to focus on this one part of the plan. And then there's like some cleanup that has to happen, which is annoying. So like all these kind of 2D annotation things, you would just need to move over or hide to make it work out. There's also an annotation crop, which could help. So if I go under floor plan and go down and click on annotation crop, that should help a little bit, get rid of that stuff. And then deactivate view. Okay, so I can bring this on. There is a title for it, which is over here. So if I can click on that and drag it over. This one right now is really the wrong direction though, because I rotated my view. Let me try to remember how to fix that. I think if I go to edit type, I think I would have to make a whole new type for it, which I don't want to get into yet. We can go over that next time. So for now, I would just click on here and do, I think I would just hide that. So hide in view. Oh, I can't hide it. Okay, I'll give you a new family that's rotated. I'm not going to go through how to make that right now. But basically you can make one of these that's rotated or you can hide it all together. Okay, so that is how you make a sheet. And you can do that for your floor plans. The one thing that's tricky is, let's say on my other sheet, I now want to add the plaza level again, but show the same thing. If I drag it on, it's going to tell me it's already placed on sheet A101. I can't drag it on. So my options are I need to duplicate it to do it. So I can either duplicate it, which will just give me what's in my model. I can duplicate with detailing, which will include all of the 2D stuff I've drawn on top of it. Or I could duplicate as dependent, which means that it'll be synced with the other view. So anytime I change my other view, it'll do the same thing in this view. So for example, let's say I do duplicate as dependent, and then I come back into this view. If I go to annotate and I make a filled region, that's a circle. If I deactivate my view, and if I go to, actually, hang on, let me do one thing first. Delete. Okay, so this is my dependent view. I'm going to duplicate this again, but I'm going to duplicate view with detailing. Okay, and then if I'm going to do a duplicate view just normal. Okay, so on duplicate view normal, you'll notice like that red line went away. So in here, there's like some red lines I had drawn to help as guidelines. So if I just duplicate the view with no detailing, that's not there. It's only 3D things that show up. Okay, if I duplicate with detailing, the red lines come here. But if I now come into this view and if I add a filled region, and then go into here, it's not going to show up. But if I go to my dependent view, it shows up. Does that make sense? So one is just the 3D copy. One copies all the lines and stuff you drew on now. And then one will keep the two linked. Okay. So if I go back to here, if I wanted to bring on that same view, I could then put this copy on instead, basically. Okay. Can everybody try getting a sheet together and placing a view on there and cropping your view? Let's just make sure you're good with that before we move on. So make a sheet, place a view on it, and crop the view. Looks like you're already good.
I don't think I cropped this. This is my ground level.
It's just how it is normally. Okay, so if you double click on it, and then you can put on your crop boundary here. And then if you select it, you can drag it in. And that would crop it into wherever you want it. And then you would just hide that again and double click outside to get out of it. So you need your crop region on. So that's over here, this button. Sorry, set timer. Nope, one next to it. Yep, show crop region. Then if you select this, you can drag the sides in to crop your view. Okay, and then we need a sheet. So once you're happy with the crop, you would turn that back off. And then put in make a new sheet. So view, at the top, new sheets over here. That one's fine, it's okay. And then you can drag on that view. So it's ground level, just drag it right on. Yep, and then click. Beautiful. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, you can change the view scale here under properties. Okay. This is over here. You got your sheets, you're cropping. Can you help with cropping? Okay, double click on it. I'm going to turn on the crop over here. Next to it. And then you're going to drag those sides in. So if you select it, again, just drag the bubble. Yep. So you got the crop right where you want it. And then you're going to turn that back off. When you're happy with it, so crop button, and you can click this one again. And then you double click outside to get out of it. Then if you want to change the scale, you select it and have the scale show up under properties. Yep. Yeah, so the crop is down here. I don't know why it makes it so tiny next to that one. So the one do not move. Pull down again, they'll crop the view. And the one right here, next to it, that's the label. The label and the other one. And if I'm on that, turn my shadows. That one, yeah. Okay, so select the box. And then drag in the levels. Yeah, and if you want to change the scale, it's up here. And then just when you're happy with the crop, you would just turn that back off. Yep. Okay, so we are now going to make, we're going to make a 11 by 17. I think in order to do that, it would be really good to have our other families in here to reference. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to download those together, okay? So I need you to go back. If you haven't downloaded the like standard families yet, I need you to go back over here to modules. So back on Canvas, going to modules, and then go down, and it should be under, let's see, Rhino resources maybe. Nope, sorry, it's not Rhino. Okay, Revit tutorials. So where it says Revit family library, there's a link. So go ahead and click on that link. And then click on Revit family library again. Okay, so you're going to want, we don't want Brazilian, we want the English American one, US English content for Revit 2020. So when you click on that link, then go down until you see US English content for Revit 2020, and then you're going to click on this. And we are going to hope and pray that we can do this on these computers. And if not, I will bug somebody to help us do this. I'm still downloading. Is anybody else's working, or are you guys all stuck too?
It says open when done. And
It's still going. Yeah, mine's still going too.
Yeah, mine is stuff like that. Like it got all the way around, but it's not done.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. That's wacky, right? I wonder if this one's lighter. Maybe that one's heavier. This one doesn't look like it's going any faster.
Mine like disappears.
Yeah, mine disappeared too, huh?
Well, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device?
Yes, we'll do it. I think maybe mine is getting blocked by Morgan's. I'm not sure Morgan's letting me do this.
It needs an admin username and password.
Okay. So then we can't do it, which is fine. We can work around it. What's nice about it is it has all the libraries in there so that you already would have like sheets pre-made and you would have families pre-made. And I'll talk with Terrence and see if he can get that installed. Okay, so I'll add that to my list. If you're working at home though, you should be able to download this and it'll basically give you a library of pre-made families and pre-made sheets and things. So it's nice for that. And materials also.
I was like, it doesn't say like, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device?
Yeah, you need to say yes, but it sounds like we need an admin password to do it. So,
Just exit.
yeah, so just cancel it. We'll move ahead without that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we tried. Okay, so making a 3D view. The reason I wanted to do this is because I want an 11 by 17 sheet. So let me see, can I just change it in here? No. Okay, we'll go without sheets. So you are going to make a 3D view. So what you will do is go into figure out what view you want. So thinking about one room that you want to look at, we're only doing one room for this exercise. So just think about like, what's your main focal space? What's the best space going to be? What's the one you've thought about the most? What's the one you're most excited to show in 3D? So I'm going to use this one for now. I'm going to go to 3D view, click this little, so up on the top view, 3D view, click the little down button, and then I want this little camera. I'm going to click on the camera, then click where my view starts, and I'm click towards where I want it to look. So this kind of shows my little camera, and I'm showing where it goes. I'm looking this way. It should automatically open up your view. And you can adjust where the crop is. Sorry? Yours isn't doing it. So did you go to view? Click the down arrow, camera, then pick where your camera starts, and then pick where it's looking. Good. You want to go the other way? Okay. So go back to camera, starting to go going that way. There you go. And then you can adjust the bubbles on the side to get the view looking like you want it to look. Got that? We got a 3D view. So you need view and then your camera. So you click down here and you get your camera. And then I don't know where you want to look. You place like where you want to stand basically and then where you're looking. And then you would just adjust these bubbles to get it how you want it. You get the word?
I see it, but it's not letting me.
Okay, so you need to be double clicked into the view because you're on the sheet right now. Yep. And so now go to camera, and then you kind of put it where you're standing, and then you point it where you're looking. So if you do that, because you're in the wall, you're going to see just the wall. So you might want to be like in a corner. It's always tricky because you're like trying to see as much as you can, right? But in real life, like you can't see that much at once. Like if I were just looking at this room in real life, my vision stops here. But like in the rendering, people want to see the whole room at once. So it's always like a little bit, it's a little bit of a fake view, right? Like there's no way that you could ever really get the full view in there. So you can adjust it in here, but it's kind of hard. Like right now I'm holding down the middle mouse key. I can kind of do that. What's easier is if I get the plan open. So I'm going to close out. I don't know what level I'm on. I think I'm on the plaza level. So Okay, so if I have both of these open, so if you type in, just have those two and type in WT for window tile, it'll allow you to have the two views open at once. And what's nice about that is then if I click on the boundary of my view, my camera shows up in plan and I can move it. So I could like move this back a little bit, or I could move it in until I get a better look.
I have like 6 open. Is there any way to like minimize to just 2 without moving anything?
Yeah, so you'd have to close out all the other ones and just have those two. Otherwise, it opens up all of them. All right. Since I'm decently happy with, actually, I'm going to leave them side by side for this. I think it might be helpful for me. Okay, does everybody have a view that they're okay with just using for today? We're good for right now. Yeah. You go up by the name and keep them on it, and then it shows up. X. X. Yeah. Okay. Can you fix your window tile problem? So if you click on the top of one of these, then you can just click the X and it'll go away. Cancel. Is there more than one file open?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how, but I opened one again.
Okay. So maybe try to close out the ones that are not the ones you're working in. Okay. Are you good? Okay, preview, you want it? Okay.
It's like not showing the details in the back. Is that normal?
So if you click on the outside of this, see how that like stops right there? You want to pull it so it keeps going past to the wall. Like keep pulling that. Is that what you did? Oh, it's not letting you do that. Okay, so let's try go to properties. Oh yeah, here you got it. I think you can also change the view distance in properties. Did that work or no? No, it didn't work. Okay. So go to properties. So you need to view up here. View, user interface, properties. So click off far clip active and click that. The one above where it's checked. Here you go. So basically that's just saying like don't cut off the camera, just let it keep going. Okay, see that it's working? Beautiful. Do you want to see farther? Click off far clip active. Okay, here you go. Okay, for the other thing that I think a couple of you are dealing with is like your camera is not looking far enough. So to fix that, if you click on your view here, like the outside, and then scroll down in properties, you can turn off far clip active, and that'll just allow the view to keep going until it hits a wall. Okay, so let's fix the size of this so that it'll print out on an 11 by 17. So I want you to select the outside, so that crop region, and then up here, this thing that says size crop should come up. Click on size crop, and then here, you're going to change your scale. So not your field of view, but your scale. And you're going to make it, the width is like let's do 16.5 inches. And then the height should automatically change. If your height is more than 11, then change your field of view. Or just make it, or do it the other way. Make like your height 11 and your width, whatever it needs to be. But this is kind of changing that outside so that we know it's the right size. So I'm going to change this to a 16.5. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm actually going to do it a second time. And this time I'm going to change my field of view. And I'm going to make this 10.5. And hit apply. And so now if I print this out, it's the right size. It's going to be 16.5 this way, 10.5 that way. The difference between these is field of view is like changing the shape of the box. Scale is just changing how big the box is. So like, for example, if I were to make this like 1 inch and hit apply, it like cramps down on my frame. But if I were to make that, if I do it with scale and make this 1 inch, it makes everything a weird size. Okay, so field of view, and I want this to be 10.5. Okay. Next thing I want to do is be able to see my materials. So up on the bottom here, I have a bunch of visual styles options. So perspective is good. If I go next, detail level is medium. I'm going to bring that up to fine. The next one says visual style hidden line. I'm going to click on that and change it to realistic. Hopefully this does not crash our computers. There we go. Okay, so now when I put it on realistic, that shows me what colors things are in my model right now, what the materials are for real right now. Sun path off, that's fine. You can leave the sun off. Shadows off, if you click on that, it'll turn them on. And you'll start to see more shadows in your model. Rendering dialog, we're not going to worry about. We're not going to worry about the other. I think that's all we're going to worry about for right now. The other thing you can do for more options is if right now realistic is like a preset, if you go to graphic display options and click on it, you're welcome to work in here. You can change like what it's showing. So under here, like right now, model display is realistic and it's showing edges. Let's say I didn't want to see the edges. I could unclick that and hit apply. And then my edges would go away and I would really just see the model itself. I can also do show edges, but put a little transparency in there. Oh, sorry, no, that transparency was for everything. So like that just added transparency to everything. So I might not want that. And then what I like sometimes do is if I'm casting shadows, you can do ambient shadows. You can add sketchy lines, which will like, I think that's a SketchUp effect too, right? Where you can like make the lines kind of jitter and extend. So if you want to look a little bit more hand-drawn, you can do that. For lighting, you can control how much the lighting is from outside versus inside. So I haven't added any lights in here. So if I were to do the lighting based on the in-session lighting, it's going to be really dark when I render this. So I probably need to add some lights. This is just like your exposure controls. And then your background, you can do like an image as your background or a sky as your background. If you have windows showing, you would then see that through there. Okay. So that's kind of, so right now it looks like I don't have any ceiling on this. This is an earlier version of the model. So now I can kind of see the sky beyond my, my thing. So this is good that we can finally like see what things are, but they probably aren't what we want them to be. So we need to start changing materials. There's a couple of ways to do that. The first way is by changing the type of property itself. The one thing you have to be careful about is that it'll do it across everything. So for example, if I click on this wall and then go to edit type, I need to go into the structure and you'll see my material is hidden here in the structure. It's my concrete masonry unit. So I could change this to a different material. If you click on the dot, 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 it's thinking about it. There are some that are preloaded. I'm not sure exactly what will show up for you. Yeah? Yep. So if I click on my wall, I then go to edit type, and then I'm editing the structure, and the material is hidden here under the structure. So concrete. So I would click on here, and then I could change it to one of these ones that's pre-made, or I could make my own. So we're going to make one. What's going on? Yeah, so click on this, and then click the dot, dot, dot. And there's your material browser. Did you find the material browser? Go to edit your structure. And then where it says the gypsum wallboard is the one you're going to want to edit. So click on the dot, dot, dot. And then you're in where I am. Plus, did you get the material browser up? Oh, so you're in a curtain wall, which is going to be a little bit different. So go down. A curtain wall is something we use, so cancel on that. For now, pick something different. So pick like, when you go to this, open this to the side and pick the side wall. So click on the outside here. Oh yeah, that works too. So click on that. Again, go to edit type. And then edit structure. And then click the dot, dot, dot. It's one by category. If you click on that, click on the dot, now you're in there. Yep. Okay. So you go to edit structure. Structure edit. Like the first kind of line in the construction. There you go. And then click on the dot, dot, dot here. It'll show up when you click on it. Okay. So I can either pick one that's already made or I can make a new one. We're going to make a new one. So I'm going to come over here at the bottom where it says creates and duplicates materials. And I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'm going to say create new material. And that's going to make this default new material. On the side here, identity. So remember that Revit actually knows what things are. So if I were using this, if I were an engineer using this, I would put in properties about it, like how it actually responds to things, how it reflects light, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to worry about that because we're just using this for graphics. So anything under the graphics panel is how it's going to show up in a hidden line view. So I'm also not worried about that right now. So I'm going to go to appearance. The first thing I do before anything else is I click on this little button here that says duplicates this asset on the side. If I don't do that, I'm going to be changing a different material. So make sure you click on that first. So generic, and then all the way on the side where it says duplicate this asset, click on that. And there should be a little 0 over the hand. That's how you know that you're just editing this one. Okay. So I could do something very basic and just make it a different color. And the preview of it will show up here. I can, yeah.
Is this being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
I can also grab an image and give it a pattern. So I'm going to go online and get an image. So I'm going to look for, I'm going to go to flavor paper. Oh man, my internet is terrible today. Okay, and let's see, wallpaper. So I'm going to use maybe this kind of like crazy florally kind of print. Okay, so I need to be able to get an image of this. I often just use the snipping tool because I feel like websites have all kinds of things on them now that don't let you get the full quality image. But I'm going to do a new snip, and I'm going to snip that. Okay, and then I can copy this, or I can save this. Save it somewhere you can find it. So I'm going to call this wallpaper. And save it as a JPEG. And save. And I'm going to put it on my desktop. Save. Okay, so under here, I'm back in my material browser. I'm going to click on no image selected. And here I'm going to click on wallpaper and hit open. And that should bring up my wallpaper. I then, if I click on the preview of it, I can change the scale. So right now this is a 1:1 scale. And also I wasn't very careful in how I cropped this. Like it's not going to be a perfect repeat because I didn't take the time to do that. Generally you want to be very careful when you do your cropping so that you make sure it'll have a regular repeat when you pattern it. But I want to change the scale of this because it's 1:1, which is too small. I think it's more of like this is probably like a 4 foot by 4 foot. So I'm going to change the scale here to 4 foot by 4 foot and hit done. And that is all I need to do. Everything else on here would apply to different materials. So reflectivity, transparency, cutout, self-illumination. Depending on what you're making, you might want one of those qualities. Bump is one I'll use a lot. So bump allows you to make things look like they have texture. So for example, if you were to put in brick, you might also put in a bump map that will show that the brick moves in and out. But I'm just going to do this for now and hit OK. And hit OK again, hit OK again. And now notice that it changed, that wallpaper got applied to my whole model. It's everywhere because I applied it to that type. Let's say I wanted to apply something, but just to one wall, not to all the walls. I have a couple of options. I can either make a new wall type and just change it on that new kind of wall type, or I can use the paint tool. So under modify, there's a tool here that says paint. It'll allow me to pick material. So I'm going to pick this parking stripe material. And then if I click on something in my model, it'll paint just that wall, that color. If I want just part of the wall of color, I can split that surface. So I can come over here to split face. I would need to select the face I'm splitting. And I didn't select the right one, so let me try that again. So split face is right above paint. I would need to select the face I'm splitting. And sometimes this is easier to do in like your default 3D view. So let's see if I can tab to the front of that. Ooh, it does not like my curvy walls. I don't know if it's going to let me select that. Okay, sometimes an elevation view lets you do it. So I'm going to try that. View, elevation. Let's see if I can select this now. Split face. So maybe you can't split circular walls.
I didn't know you were here. I was in the studio.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I thought your advising thing just went over.
Oh.
Okay, so since I can't split that face, I'm going to make a flat wall that we can split. So if I go back to plaza level, okay, so try two. So if I take this, I can go to modify, split face, select it. And then let's say I want to put like a big circle of, like some big circles of the pattern in there. I can then go back to modify, paint, and I should be able to paint just that area I split off. So materials are kind of hidden in different places. So you can usually paint something, but then it doesn't change globally when you change it. So it's a little bit annoying to do it that way. So it's nice to do it by type. So walls, it's hidden in the structure. So you'd go to edit type, structure, and then you find it there. Floors are similar. So let's say I want to make a carpet on here. I go to architecture. I usually do my carpets as a floor. So I would draw in the floor, carpet, hit my check mark. Actually, let me, over here, I'm going to go to edit type, duplicate. I'm going to edit the structure. So here I would set what I want my carpet to be. And this is a really ugly carpet. We're just going to use it for now just to show you. But ideally, I would like make a new one based on a carpet I found. Hit OK. I would change the thickness to whatever the thickness of it is. So usually it's about 1/4 inch. And then I would so 1/4 inch, that's all fine. So hit the check mark, and then I would change the offset here. So right now it drew it at sea level. I needed it plaza level, and I would offset it 1/4 inch so that it shows. And it looks like it's not showing right now. So let's see what happened to that. Oh, it's all the way over here. So the floor type is similar to the wall, and that you go into edit type, edit the structure, and then you can change the material in there. Individual families might have it somewhere else. So like, for example, in this floor family, they have the seat finishes right here under properties. So I could change the material here to something different. Same thing with the desk, probably. Let's see. The desk doesn't, so I'd have to go to edit family. And then I can change the material once I'm in edit family, probably. So over here, it says material is cherry. So actually, maybe it's a type property. So if I click on this, go to edit type. Yep. So now materials and finishes comes up under here, and I can change them within that area. Railings. So railings, I think if you go to edit type, I have to look up where to find this. I forget where you find the material for the railing. Okay, so you'd have to go into like the individual handrail. So like here where it says type, if I double click on where it says rectangular type, and then there's a material and finishes thing, then I can change it within there. So sometimes you have to kind of click around through the properties to find things. Whichever one you're working on, like if you're working on a piece of furniture or a wall or something and you can't find it, just let me know. I can help you look for it. But usually it'll be under the properties panel if you go to edit type, and either under the structure or it'll be right here. Okay, so now if I come back to my 3D view.
No, your walls didn't change color.
Your walls didn't change color. Let me take a look. Well, new material, okay. Well, material, okay. Okay. Oh, you are good. So click on this view. Go down over here. Oh, well, how do we get out of? I just want to be the view, not the thing. So zoom out. Keep going. Click like outside here, and then okay. So go down here and click on Show Complete. Okay. Sorry. So that was a step I missed. So if you have Show when you click on your 3D view, make sure under properties, go all the way to the bottom, and instead of show previous and new, click on show complete. Because otherwise it's going to be showing you like that gray wall for the existing.
And so that'll change everything that is generic 4-inch wall to that color?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you don't want to do that, you can use the paint tool instead, or you can, if it's just one wall, you can duplicate the wall type and change the material in that wall type. Okay, so once we're happy with this, sorry, that creeped me out. Okay, so I can print this from here. So if I go to File, Print, I should be able to print my current window, and I can change my settings so that I have a tabloid because we made it for that size. Zoom to 100% of size, color, that should all be fine. And I want this to be Adobe PDF. And then hit OK, and let's see what we get.
Your request could not be completed. Please activate license is either expired or not been activated.
Oh, that's not good. Am I going to get that too? I wonder if we can print it as like an image instead, if that doesn't work. So mine's here. So this is kind of my 3D image. The other way that will take longer, but is sometimes nice, if you go to View, and then there should be rendering. So render, and click on that. And if I hit render, and there's like a whole bunch of settings for rendering as well, but sometimes that'll make you a nicer image. I'm okay with you guys just using the printed 3D view. I think like that printed 3D view in realistic, like sometimes the rendering, there's so many more settings to fuss with and it doesn't look better. So I think for now, I think it would be more beneficial just to like have it in realistic view rather than trying to now like go through and fix and adjust the exposure and everything. But that's where rendering lives, should you want to render in the future.
The rendering looks weird.
Yeah, it's so what happens with the rendering, when you do the render preview or the realistic view, it doesn't actually calculate all the photons of light hitting things. When you do the final rendering, it's actually like looking at, okay, here is a light, it puts out this much light, how would that reflect? How would that like, it adds it to all the other lights, it calculates the real shadows. And I think sometimes it's more technical than we want because like it's too, it doesn't think about ambient light enough or like, or there's too much contrast, or it's just like not, for it to really do it accurately, it would take a really, really long time. And so I think sometimes it doesn't come out well.
It just turned my screen black.
Yes, also you don't have any lights in yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually calculating the lights you have.
How do I just Control-Z to like undo
that? Is it like stuck in that forever now?
I have no idea.
I don't know. What do I hit? Control-Z. Yep, Control-Z will get rid of it. So we can mess with that in the future, but I think for this pinup, we're just doing realistic 3D views printed. Okay, so I know that you're going to need some time to kind of mess with this and get used to it. I did send you an announcement. Let's see, where is this thing? So announcements. I think in the last one I sent you, there's a link to the Baltimore Design School playlist. So that's like the ones I did for high schoolers. And I think they're a little bit more concise than the class recording sometimes. So there should be Revit adding materials to walls and floors. So that goes over what we just went over. And then views and sheets goes over what we went over in the beginning with adding your view onto your sheet, changing the scale, cropping the view. I will also post this once it is done loading. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to take a break and go down to the material library now, and then we can come back up and just work. Okay?